How to say no to people. First of all, respect to you for clicking on this full educational guide instead of the short clickbait videos that are on YouTube. Why should you listen to me? Well, I went from struggling to say no. I went to university when I didn't want to. I spent years of my life just following the commands of my parents. And now I say the N-word all the time. I wrote this down and I thought that was funny as fuck. Like the N-word meaning no, obviously. Yeah, I was basically a pussy for most of my life, and I'm actually quite comfortable rejecting others and saying no to them right now. And so I'd like to just teach you some of the lessons that I've learned so that maybe you can use this for yourself as well. So the promise for this video is that I'll teach you how to say no, even to your daddy who's forcing you to go to university or some other shit you don't want to do. I know that's a little bit specific, but it's a question I get all the time from young guys. And no matter what it is, maybe you're trying to say no to a girl that you're currently dating, but you don't know how to like start the breakup process, or you don't know how to say no to your parents who are telling you that you've got to go to university, even though that you know that university is like outdated. Saying no to potential business opportunities, saying no to distractions. If you can learn what we're about to teach here, it might actually help you significantly in life. So my introduction is that my name is Hamza and I make videos that save lives. So you can subscribe so that you see more videos like this on your homepage. And if I've already changed your life, then just go ahead and leave a comment below right now, because you might help another guy who's reading it and you might end up getting like a lot of likes and stuff. The top link in the description is my email list. Go join right now. You get massive emails like this where I just write like a full-on guide on how to speak to people, how to approach girls, how to give girls compliments, how to become more attractive, all that kind of stuff that a lot of guys are into. So just go sign up. I think you'll really like it. I write all the emails myself, by the way. This isn't like a ghostwriter or anything. So I think you might end up liking that. So there's 3 steps to start saying no. First of all, we'll talk about the importance of no and why it's so valuable. Then we'll talk about how to say no politely. And the third step is how to deal with the repercussions of no. So let's begin with the importance of no. The biggest regret of dying people is, I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. You can go and Google this as well. This is from like either a book or a study from like this end of life nurse. Basically, there was like a nurse who had been around hundreds or thousands of dying people. Like it was her job to kind of look after people who were about to die. And she would always ask them this question, like, what's your biggest regrets? And there was like 7 big regrets. I think this was the biggest one by far. I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life that others expected of me. Basically, they had an authentic purpose or mission or goals, which they didn't pursue, most likely because their parents pressured them to be a different kind of way. Is that what you're still experiencing? Like this is more of like a old school, traditional 1900s kind of problem, 1800s problem, where you wanted to go and be, I don't know, some scholar or some shit, but like your father forces you to work in the factory with him or something. But these days, you really do have so much more of a choice. These days, it's actually kind of normal to defy your parents, which I know you might think like, oh yeah, that's really disrespectful. That's like the young modern person's disrespect. I actually think that this is very intellectual. It's very intellectual. It's more than likely that the previous generation, like the generation above us, our parents, don't really know of the most effective opportunities available because of how fast the world is changing. Basically meaning that it is not an intelligent move to listen to your parents these days because of how fast technology and the internet and trends and culture is changing, unless if your parents are extremely intelligent, knowledgeable, and successful. Basically, I'll be mentioning your parents a lot in this video. If your parents are extremely successful, happy, loving, healed people, then continue listening to them because they sound like awesome people. If your parents are basically working class, they have less than $10,000 in the bank account, they're kind of fat, they're kind of ugly, maybe listening to their advice isn't going to lead you anywhere else other than where they're at. So just be careful listening, because although parents have like an authority over you, truth be told, most parents are actually not that smart. Most parents are not like actually that intelligent. It's just something we've got to say. Most parents haven't read the same books. They're not watching videos like this, right? Like correct me if I'm wrong. Are your parents just like on their phones, like basically like Jeffrey's? Or your parents just like watching TV? And sure, they're doing nice things. They work and stuff. Yeah, sure, they've got accountability to work hard in like some shit job. But that's like this level of ambition. Congratulations, you're working in a shit job, and it's so cool that you're like providing for the family and stuff. But like, how about we work in a better job that's more fulfilling, that actually develops you more, that you're actually happier with, that, you know, like, so we look up to the person who's like self-sacrificing these days. But just be honest, like the higher ambition that most of us would probably want to get to is not just that we work hard on something, but that we work hard on something that actually makes us happy, that has a good purposeful impact on the world. And this is something that our parents' generation don't understand. Our parents' generation, like if your parents are about 40 years old, 50 years old, they grew up in a time where purpose and meaning and impact and passion wasn't really a thing. They just had to get whatever shit job they could to survive through like the financial crises that have happened in the last like 20 years, 30 years. They've just had to like deal with it. Now there's so much opportunity that it doesn't make sense to listen to people who are playing with the outdated playbook. And so you've just got to understand, like, is this where you're heading? There's a quote I love, which is, men learn from their mistakes. Wise men learn from the mistakes of others. Learn from the mistakes of the dying. Don't live in regret by living a life that others expected from you. So here's the beauty of saying no. You forge relationships that are actually compatible with the real you. Because think about it. How useless is a relationship that you have to ignore your values and morals for? Think about the relationship you have with certain people, maybe with your parents or whoever comes to mind when you think of the, you know, like the skill of saying no. How useless is that relationship if you can't even live to your values and morals? It's actually worse than useless because you're sacrificing yourself. There's no point living if you're not going to be authentic. It's not even you anymore. There's no point. This is the hard truth, which many young guys need to hear. You're probably not compatible with your family. This isn't any disrespect to them. I know that I sound like an asshole, but like, you probably don't want to end up like them. If you do, then follow their advice. And if you don't want a life like them, then don't follow their advice. Then don't listen to them at all, because they don't have what's required in their brain to teach you to get anywhere else. So basically, if your parents are living your ideal life right now, you don't need YouTube videos and books and stuff. You can just keep asking your parents questions and you'll get to that kind of point. But if your parents are living a life that you're thinking like, fuck that, I don't want that, then the less you listen to them, the better. It's almost like a weird game where you should be looking for more opportunities to like not listen to them, because whatever they say you should do got them to where they are at. There's a brutal truth of being a young person and realizing like, oh shit, like I've had to like look up to my parents all this time, but they ain't all that. It's fucking, I know what I'm saying is very disrespectful. It really is. And I don't mean to be like a rude person. I would hate to be rude or disrespectful, but like, this is just something we've got to talk about. Most likely when you clicked on this video, you were thinking about your parents, or at least now you are, because you realize, oh shit, like this is actually the biggest no. At first you might have been thinking of like, you know, saying no to someone in school or some shit, or saying no to like whatever, something a bit more casual. But your parents usually have like the tightest chokehold on you. And here's the beautiful thing. When you say no, you're actually saying yes. You're saying yes to you. You say no to the person who basically wants you to not be you. Think about that. When you say no, you're usually saying no to the person who wants you to not be you. So I think that's the kind of person we should be saying no to. But when you say no, what you're saying is yes to you, to your real values and goals, to the real people who are compatible with you. You start forging a life that's true to yourself. Remember that number one regret. When you say no to people, and you say no to them because you don't want to do what they said, you're basically destroying this regret. You're making this a less likelihood for your future self. The biggest, most common regret and you are actually taking a step back from that. That's a very like courageous thing to do. No makes you an essentialist. Essentialist is kind of like a guy who believes in the phrase less but better. Like you have less things in your life, but you're deeper in them. I'm an essentialist. There's like a lot of things that I don't do in life, a lot of people that I don't hang out with because I just focus on what's important. That's given me a lot of success in the monetary, like materialism thing. It's also given me a lot of happiness and fulfillment. And it's also allowed me to like deepen relationships very quickly with people that I really, really like rather than having a bunch of like shallow relationships. Every no gives you time and bandwidth for the thing you actually want to do. Smart people know that almost everything is unimportant when it comes to getting results in work. And yet some things are very important. So now when we talk about work, or even in general with like any area of life, like for example, work, family, friends, relationship, whatever, most things are actually relatively unimportant. And some things are very important. So for example, in work, there's some things which are very, very important. Some tasks which are just crucial to do and to become amazing at. Like, for example, for me as a YouTuber, recording videos. It's the single most important task, right? It sounds kind of like common sense. But then you can imagine that like 90% of the time that a lot of YouTubers spend their work time, it's not recording videos. But it's like doing cute stuff, like changing their profile pictures, like going onto the comments and replying to comments and watching other people's YouTube videos and leaving comments on there and stuff. So there's stuff which is relatively unimportant and that can distract you from the bigger thing. And this works the same with, for example, let's say like relationships. Most relationships are unimportant. Most relationships aren't actually like that significant. You know, most of the relationships, when you think about it, it's like people you've connected with online. It's people you walk past. It's people in the gym. Imagine you go to the gym and there's like an unimportant relationship there of like you and some random girl that you're probably not even going to get with, right? Now imagine that you end up changing your life because of that, because you notice that that girl seems to be into a particular kind of guy and you start almost forging yourself to become that kind of guy. It was for an unimportant relationship that you didn't even have depth in, and suddenly your life trajectory changes because you optimized for the unimportance. Does that make sense? So imagine also there's like a friend who's not even nice to you. Most of us had this experience in high school where we had a friend who literally wasn't even a kind, nice person. Like he was a dickhead, an actual dick. He was actually like mean and abusive to you, but we still thought he was like a friend because sometimes we'd laugh with him. I think you can probably relate to that. That is what like an unimportant, unessential relationship, but we kept that and we were merged by that. We were forged by that relationship when there was someone else that we could have been more like kinder and loving with. When we keep in the unimportant, we have less space for the important. It's kind of like the basketball player where his important task is practicing basketball, but then he spends a lot of his time doing all this weird bullshit where he's like doing all these sponsorships and interviews and conferences and all of this extra stuff instead of just focusing on what's important, which is practicing basketball like 3 times a day. This is how like the underdog can come in and take out the Goliath, because the Goliath, when he's big and tall, you know, the big mighty people that you look up to in your space, like for example, if you want to be a self-improvement YouTuber, you should have gotten like an erection last year when you saw that I started to focus on other things. I know a bunch of self-improvement YouTubers who ended up getting 50,000. I had like a fucking chokehold on the self-improvement industry for like 2 years straight, 2.5 years straight. And then in 2023, I stopped basically being a YouTuber and I started focusing on more of my paid product. And I put all my time into that, which meant like I wasn't focused on YouTube anymore. When the big guy in a certain space, like whatever, basketball or whatever, it starts to focus on something else, that's when there's new opportunities. That's when there's like competitive opportunities there. The game of work is to find the very important things, go all in on them, and not get distracted by the seemingly urgent but the unimportant. 9 out of 10 times, anything someone brings to you will actually be the unimportant. So we basically need to have no as our basic attack. We need to say no automatically to everything that comes up, and then start to actually really think, wait, okay, is that actually a good opportunity? Is that actually a really good person? Because 9 times out of 10, it won't. It's just shiny object syndrome. It just sounds so cool. Like I'll tell you as well, like even just recently, for example, I considered setting up a new product, like a second product. Basically, my first product is like a paid community, and it's $129 a month, right? And I was thinking about making the same kind of product, but making one which was way more expensive, like $999. It's kind of like a high ticket product. And, it was like, I started to get loads of ideas. I was like, oh, I could set it up. And like, then, I'd make more money and I'd get like really higher level guys and I could teach it like this. I could do this and I could do this. And I was like, hang on. I've had this before. Just slow down a little bit. Then I sent a few messages out. I sent a few messages to high level guys I know, mentors. I sent a message to the CEO of School, like the website that I'm on, Sam Ovens, like entrepreneurs worth hundreds of millions. I sent the messages. And the most intelligent response I got back was from Sam Ovens, the CEO. And he just said, ask yourself why. That's all he replied with. And I've spoke to him like a bunch of times with stuff like this. He always has the least words in response, but the most impactful. He said, ask yourself why. I didn't take action on this new idea, even though I'm quite like an ADHD, fast-paced person, because I wanted to make this new product line, right? I knew for a fact if I make it and I announce it, I'd be making an extra $30,000 a month immediately, at least. And then it'd be like, yeah, I'll scale it up and I could get it good, and then I'll have 2 products and stuff. Yeah. And I was like, wait, ask yourself why. And I just sat on that for days because I knew there was magic in that question. And then it clicked. And I sent him a message back and I said, you were so right with this question. I asked myself why, and I realized I literally just wanted novelty because my first product is at like a bit of a slow period right now. It hasn't grown in like the last like maybe 3 weeks. It's been roughly about the same amount of customers, like students that are inside. It's had roughly about 2,000. 2,000 still amazing, by the way, but it's like, it hasn't, like you feel acceleration. You get what I mean, right? Like when you're driving, when you accelerate, that's when you feel it. But when you kind of cruise at the same speed, you don't feel it. You get kind of bored and more distracted. We've been cruising at the same speed, even though we've been working hard on it. It's like the new customers come in, but then old customers come out. So it's been roughly 2,000 for like maybe about 3 weeks now. And that's what I was craving. I was craving the acceleration, and it was like, well, it's not working here. Let's go completely start a new product line. And then I said to him, like, if Adonis School hadn't been cruising right now and we had more of the acceleration, then I would have had the novelty from it and I wouldn't have been thinking about a second product line. It would have been ridiculous to think of a new product when my first ones are doing amazing. And he just replied with, perfect answer. I was like, yeah, fuck. This guy is way more of an essentialist than I am. And he really helped me with this, even though he sent me a total of 5 words. That's, I don't know if that story will relate to you in any way, but maybe it'll just stick in your mind. Like, I wanted to go and start up a whole new product, which is no small thing as a businessman, as a company. And it was literally just because I wanted to go and get like novelty. I wanted to say yes to something, and I had to discipline myself. I don't feel bad about this at all because, this is what life is like. It's like you get a new opportunity in your mind and you weigh it up. It's absolutely normal to like weigh up the new opportunity, but then eventually think, you know what? No. That's the skill. The skill isn't like not weighing up the opportunities or not getting the opportunities. It's you get the opportunities, you hear about this new thing you can do, and you say no. It's like you've got a girlfriend and you see a new girl that you could like cheat with, and you actually weigh it up. Like this is where the skill comes in. You weigh it up and then you say no. That's the skill. It wasn't difficult if like the thought never came into your mind. That wasn't skill. That was just automatic. It's like, that's not something you should be proud of. You should be proud of the time where it hurts more, where you really think, wait, should I cheat on my wife? And you weigh it up and then you say no. Usually at that point you'd feel guiltier, right? You'll be thinking like, oh man, I could have just cheated, I feel really bad. But no, like that was the skill. Like it's like, should you be happy if you go to do a set in the gym and you get to like 4 out of 10 intensity and it's easy? No, right? What set should you be happy with in the gym? Like 1 to failure where it was hard. Imagine doing a really fucking hard rep to the point that your biceps are fucking like squeezing and tearing, putting the weight down and being like, oh man, like it was so hard to like my bicep hurts. Like, no, that's a good thing, motherfucker. It's a good thing that you struggled. The pain is a good thing. So we need to translate that same mindset to the decisions we make. If it's an easy decision, like it is an easy set in the gym that doesn't even feel hard, you didn't gain any fucking skill. You didn't, you actually didn't level up for that. It's when it's a hard decision. It's when it really appears in your mind to do something bad, but then you choose not to do it. That's when you should stand tall. But usually that's when we kind of like cower down and we're like, oh man, that was really difficult. But just try and steal the gym analogy, because when you hit a really fucking hard set in the gym, even though you're physically tired, you like hype yourself up in your mind. You're like, oh man, that was such a good set. I really fucking pushed hard on that one. That's what we should be doing when we have like something that we say no to, and when you really have to think deeply about it. And you're like, man, I'm going to say no to this opportunity, to this new girl, this distraction, this friend, this drug, whatever it is. When you automatically say no, it's not hard to do that. It's when you actually have to sit there and weigh it all up. That's when it matters. So, for example, as a YouTuber, the most important work is just making the best videos that you can. The unimportant work is what I call the high value man work, which is like going on podcasts and networking and stuff. And you have to start to say no to that. So I get opportunities, for example, to do like podcasts. I've gotten so many random emails from students who want me to go speak in their universities. Like usually they have like some kind of club where they can, invite like guests or something. And I've had so many universities, not universities, but like the student clubs of the universities say like, oh yeah, come to this university, this one, come do like a little talk for our student group of 100 guys or something. And think about it, it'd be really novel and stimulating. I'd dress up and I'd go handshake loads of guys who'd say nice things about me, and I'd bring my cameraman and we'd record it and I'd look really professional. It'd be so cool. Is it the essential work? It's not. It's not. The essential work is waking up at 4 a.m. and just getting the videos done. When I say yes to things like this, I'm saying no to the essential work. When I say no to things like this, I'm saying yes to the essential work. This is the harsh reality of like saying no. I had to walk you through first that you're going to be saying no to things that actually are kind of good opportunities. Because if it was a bad opportunity, it's fine. But when you say no to, like when, the concept of saying no arises, the reason why it's significant is because often there is actually some kind of gain there in some ways. Even as something as like taking drugs with low-life degenerates. And imagine it's like you become friends with a bunch of guys who are like stoners and they want you to smoke weed with them all the time. There's still like a gain of like social acceptance and funny giggles and stuff that you'll end up missing out on if you say no. But when you say no to something like that, what you're actually saying is yes to your goals and to the character that you wanted to build, that you didn't want to be a fucking loser stoner. Be aware of the woman in the red dress. So basically the concept of the things that you need to say no to level up as you level up as well. So when you're first starting off on your journey, the stuff you've got to say no to is like some shit from your parents and some like, your Discord friends on video games. Mark my words right now, if you expect to become successful as much as you say you do, within 2-3 years from now, you're going to be saying no to like 7 out of 10 girls who want you to deep throat them. Just think about that for a second. Just think about that for a second right now. You're going to be saying no to millionaires who message you. Are you prepared for this? There's going to be millionaires who will message you, who will want to hang out, and you're going to have to say no to them because it's not part of the essential task. And if you say yes to a lot of these things, there's someone who's saying no and he'll surpass you. There's going to be like beautiful women who will want to go on dates with you and they'll want you to fuck them. There's going to be amazing trips that you could go and take, all this cool, fun stuff, and it's just a distraction. So the distractions will level up as you level up too. If you meet your wife and like you're both like, 5 out of 10s, there might be like some random 3 out of 10 quite ugly girl who might let you like basically cheat with her. And it's fairly easy to say no. Let's say you level up, you become really wealthy and everything, you're still with your wife. 5 years from now, 10 years from now you've got like 8 out of 10 women, beautiful women who like you, who have actually got good personalities. Now you've got them who want you to cheat on your wife with them. Now can you imagine like why the skill of saying no is actually very important? So just remember that a clear no is actually nicer than a vague yes. because this is one of the skills I had to learn. Instead of saying no, I would give like a really vague yes, or, you know, like a really like a weak answer, like, oh, I'll just, you know, I'm not sure. Yeah, let's just do it. And in my mind, I would think, okay, I'll wait till I'm not next to them, then I'll send them a message saying that I'm actually not interested. Like, I remember when I was graduating university and I applied for like a bunch of full-time jobs, and one day I got calls from 3 different job places that said that, like, basically offered me the job. So imagine that. One day I got 3 job offers. Guess what I said to each one when they called me? Yes, that's amazing. I'll do it. Okay. Got off the call, wrote down the details. 1 hour later, I get another call. They say, "Oh, Hamza, you know, we'll give you the job." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I'll do it. I'll start on Monday." I had 3 places which I told yes to because it was just a bit easier to say yes to all of them, sit down, and then just kind of like, you know, think about it in my own space. And to be honest, I don't think I did anything wrong there because, you know, I needed the time to sit clearly and you know, analyze things. But it is nice if you can just let people move on with their lives, because you'll actually be doing them a service. If you put someone into this vague thing of like pretending that you like them or not, you end up just doing them a disservice because you string them along. Whereas when you say no to someone very clearly, whether it's a friend or a parent, they know where they stand, and it does harm us. It does, like, you know, scare us because we're thinking like, oh, damn, like, you know, they're going to feel rejected. They're going to feel hurt. They might lash out on me. But it is actually just nicer to give people this gift of no than a vague yes. Like, you should only really be spending time with people that you're a fuck yes about. So we've covered the importance of no, and the next step now is we're going to talk about how to say no politely. And now let's go over how to say no politely. So it's a skill to say no without offending the other person, and you want to do this just in cases you don't want to be burning the bridges. So if you learn this skill, not only can you maintain that relationship, but you'll also feel much more confident and skillful in saying no. So we're saying no, but we don't want to do it in a rude or disrespecting way, and this is the way that I would do it. There's basically a few phrases that you can use. My number one phrase that I personally use when it comes to business somewhat related guys, or basically anyone who knows me knows that I'm like the businessy type of guy, is something like this, like, "Oh bro, thanks so much for the invite, I just don't have the bandwidth." I say something like that, and everyone who I have on my WhatsApp or whatever understands what I mean, and that's fine. Or I even use phrases that they'd understand. So I say, "Oh bro, thank you so much, but I'm on monk mode." People know what that means. It means, okay, Hamza's in this like period of intensive work. He's busy. That's it. I have that relationship with the people who, you know, are my friends and family and girls and whatever. And even like girls that I see, like, they know what like monk mode is because I've told them. They know what like this, you know, how hard I work, bandwidth, whatever. So they understand that. If you're, let's say, a younger guy, and if you told someone I'm on monk mode, they wouldn't understand. Or if you told them like I don't have the bandwidth, they would find that weird. Then you can change the phrases, but you can say like, "Thanks so much, but I'm super busy with work right now. In the future, I'd love to." You always want to, like, especially if it's someone you like, but it's an opportunity that you don't want to do right now. Like, you know, it's like an invite to go and do something. Then it's like you want to really emphasize that you're not rejecting them, but just rather that you are genuinely busy. Now, if you are actually rejecting them because you don't like them, then you can be a bit harsher with this and say like, "Oh no, I'm busy," whatever. You can just not even reply, honestly. That's it's another strategy you should know, is like sometimes you don't actually have to reply. Like I don't think any message I get I have to reply to. That's just one of my values. It's like when someone sends me a message, it doesn't matter if it's family, it doesn't matter if it's a girl, it doesn't matter if it's like friends. I see it as like an invitation for me to reply, not an obligation. And so it's just one thing. Like when you have a lot of self-respect for yourself and for your work, you don't feel like an obligation to reply to people's invite or even just messages. So sometimes I just won't reply. It's just like that. Along with this, you can copy some of these other ones. I would love to, but how about at a different time? The pussy one, which is the easiest one, is like, "Oh, I'll see if I'm free and I'll let you know." And then you can like later on reject them. The reason why this is a pussy one is because, let's be honest, you already know if you're free for something, if you want to do something or not. But the reason why you'd say this is because you're hoping that it'll be easier for you to say no later. But the problem why this is like the pussy approach is because what you're saying is, "I'll let future me deal with this," rather than you just getting done with it right now and ripping off the band-aid. You're basically saying, yeah, like, I don't want to experience the discomfort. So what I'm going to do is have the discomfort last longer whilst I'm, it's like in the back of my mind that I've got to reply to this person and affect me for hours or days. And then future me needs to deal with this. And it becomes a way bigger thing where the person sent you like 4 extra messages about it and everything. So I would tell you, never do this pussy approach of like, I'll see when I'm free and, saying that you'll reply in a while. What I would say is just get into the habit of saying no up front to most things, to almost everything. And then later on saying yes. Like if someone says to you like, hey, want to do this on Friday? If you just get into the habit of saying like, oh, no, sorry, can't, I'm super busy in this period, then you later on might think, oh, wait, that'd actually be sick. You go up to them and be like, oh, bro, like, I said no, you know what, I'll reschedule something. I'd love to. Thank you for inviting me. It'd actually be awesome. I thought about it more. And I was like, yeah, no, I'd actually really appreciate that. That person 99 times out of 100 will be like, oh, yeah, sweet. Okay, yeah, come through. That's it. So I would tell you, like, if you really want to be a high performer, you need to get into the habit of saying no to almost everything. And then after that, really seeing what sticks in your mind when you're thinking like, damn, you know what? It would actually be really fun to go and do that thing. It would be really amazing to go do that thing. Now, how do you say no? This is the bigger one. How do you say no to something like your parents, where it's not about an invite to go to like, a party or anything, but it's rather your parents saying you're going to university? Or they're not even saying it like that. They just assumed that you are. How do you say no in that context? Here's the thing. If you have the kind of parents that you're watching this video about and they're fairly abusive, then you can't go about it in this cute way where, you sit your parents down. Like, how like some white person will tell you like on the internet, yeah, like sit them down and explain it from your points. No. If you have the kind of family that I'm thinking about, that shit we know doesn't work. So here's exactly what I would do with basically abusive parents who are telling you like you need to go and change your life based on their assumption of the status that they will get because of you. Basically, they're being fucking assholes and they're telling you to go spend years of your life in a certain area that you don't want to be in because they will assume that higher status for you being in university, which is a big fucking disrespect to you in your life. The way that I would do it is I would live in disguise. I would be like the sheep in wolf's clothing. I would say in front of my parents and I would pretend that I'm doing exactly what they've said, and I would live the lie as long as possible. So they think I'm applying for universities. I haven't applied for a single one. They ask me which ones I've applied for. I say, yep, Manchester, this one. I lie to their faces as much as possible. Imagine they think I'm in university or they think I've got some shitty full-time job or something. I get ready in the morning. I'll go and sit at a cafe till 5 p.m. That's how you deal with like abusive parents who are just fucking, there's no speaking to people like that. So if you've got parents like that, like I said before, you either listen to their advice and you say yes to what they're saying, like, yeah, you've got to go work this shit job, you've got to go and act like this, you can't start a business, you've got to go to university. You listen to what they say because you're scared of them. But even if you listen to those kinds of people, you'll still end up having arguments and bad times with them anyway. So it doesn't make sense to listen to them because you listen to them to avoid those bad times. But the kind of people that you need to listen to like this, like your parents, you'll end up still having bad times and arguments about other shit anyway. So you may as well just have that bad time about actually following your dream, but you may as well basically lie as much as possible because that's what they deserve. Parents who are so abusive and controlling don't deserve to have like children who are upfront and honest, because they'll shout at you and they'll abuse you and they'll traumatize you and they'll hurt you for it. So I know this got very fucking deep, but basically what I would do if I had like abusive parents, I would lie to them as much as possible. And I would tell them I'm doing exactly what they said. I would pretend I was doing it. I'd, go to school or pretend to go to university, whatever it is. And I would literally just keep fucking lying and lying. They say like, did you apply for university? And I'll be like, yeah. And they'll get a letter or whatever happens. They're like, wait, you didn't apply? And you'll be like, oh yeah, I forgot. And, oh, but you said you applied. Be like, oh yeah, I forgot. I must not have sent properly. Like, I'll go do it right now. Either way, you're going to have arguments. You may as well at least have arguments by you following your dream. And then in the meantime, I'd just be ruthlessly doing whatever I thought I should be, which is, for example, like the business that I really was passionate about. That's what I'd be doing with parents like this. So then the next step, the third step, is how to deal with the repercussions of no. You say no, and sometimes you piss people off, and they might create distance between you. So imagine if you say no to a girl or a friend, and suddenly you're not hanging out with them as much, and it's kind of sad. Well, you go all in on the main thing, the essential thing that you've said yes to instead, and you make progress in that. Because what you'll find is if you get success in your main thing, people will stick around anyway. Like if you say no to your parents and then you become super successful in your business, suddenly your parents will be respecting you and saying like, oh yeah, I believed in him from the start anyway. You say no to your Discord video game friends, and then suddenly you become successful in business or the sport or whatever. Your friends will still message you, whoa, that's so cool that you won that award. That's so cool. Like basically, if you create massive success, anyone you rejected will come and stick around anyway. Even with girls, for example, you end up saying to a girl like, no, I'm too busy to meet, and she's upset and everything. But then when you've built up like a lot of admirable traits, not just money and success, but just like progress in all areas, they often will stick around. Now, sure, with women, it's a little bit different because it's not just about the success that you bring to the table, but also how you make her feel. So if you say no to a woman because you're super busy, you've still got to make her feel loved. You've still got to spend a little bit of time with her here and there. You've still got to send her like a really cute message and everything. But in general, if you keep leveling up, you will keep the people in your life that you've had to reject. Like the son who doesn't want to go to university and has his father screaming at him until the son retires his father with the business. That's the case. So it's like basically people stick around, and you don't need to be upset that like someone is kind of upset at you right now and you said no to them or something, because they'll stick around for that. And plus, have you really, like, let's say you say no to someone, have you really lost anything if they weren't even compatible with you anyway? Because when you're saying no, the reason why you're saying no is because it's actually authentic for you to say that. And it took a little bit of courage for you to show the real self and say like, no, like, that's not something I want to do. So that means that you're showing your real self. And if someone is pissed off at your real self, then you're not even compatible with them anyway. Why would you want relationships where you're not even compatible with the person? Like, get this into your mind right now. Why would you want a life of relationships where you're not even compatible with the other person? Relationships should be that you are ruthlessly, authentically yourself, and you find out that you're compatible with the other person when you are yourself, that you don't feel weird, that they don't feel pissed off at you for whatever reason. When you are yourself, they're the best relationships that you can get, and they're often more rare, right? Because you're not going to fit in with everyone. So they're the relationships we should be finding and then going all in on. They're the ones where you can, like, literally, if you can be completely yourself with no mask, and you can be authentically yourself and show your real self, that's a relationship that you should fucking fight for. That's a relationship that you should really fucking value. Relationships where you feel a certain way and you're scared to show that, and basically you present a fake version of yourself to this person. That's not, like, how is that even any valuable at all? A relationship where you're not authentic is useless. It's worse than useless because you're practicing not being you. The relationships are only, you've heard of the health benefits of having relationships in your life. Well, you only get those health benefits if you're actually you, not if you've had to hold down the no that you've wanted to say to this person who keeps asking you to do shit, who keeps asking you to do stuff that you don't want. So if you act authentic, people's responses are their real behaviors to you, to the real you. Brave it with your chest and understand that's how you actually fit together, if at all. So I'll tell you another story. When I first started journaling in 2019, 2020, when I was living in the nearby city with my girlfriend at the time. Me and her split up years ago. And I started journaling, and I would often write about my relationship with her, that, I wasn't happy and everything. And in the first few times, imagine you live with a woman and you're journaling about her, that you're not very happy in the relationship. You probably wouldn't want her to see the journal, right? I randomly, as I was journaling, got an insight. Wait, if she saw it, it wouldn't even be a bad thing, because this is the real me. So I would leave my journals out in the open. I wouldn't, purposefully leave it on a hateful page or anything. I'd still close it and stuff and, keep it somewhere tidy. But my idea was, if she ever walked through and she was interested to see what I wrote, she'd just be reading about my real thoughts. Is that so bad? And I thought the same once I moved back home. I thought the same about my brother as well. I thought, okay, if I leave my journals out and, I've talked about drugs and sex and everything, I had this weird visualization. I had a feeling like my brother would walk into my room and, go through my shit and everything. You know how siblings do, and he'd see it. And I'd be like, wait, but if that's the real me, if that's my authentic thoughts, then his response to that will show the real, genuine response to me. There was something pleasant about that, to brave that and think well, that's how he would think about me. That's why I'm so ruthlessly honest on my YouTube videos, where I've spoke about sex, porn, drugs. I've spoke about all the crime I've committed. I spoke about times where like I've ran away from police and everything like that. Do you think I've been afraid for my parents to see this stuff? Yes, of course. There's been times when my mother walks in and she's got like the little scarf on and everything. She's like, "Aftagfar," and she's like speaking to me in Urdu, and she's like, getting all like spiritual and religious on me and everything. There's been times, but it's like, I always just see it as like, but this is me. So if I can hide this away and she won't be like that, fine. But like, then she's just reacting to a fake version that I have to like present myself in front. Why would you ever want to be inauthentic? I'd rather have everyone's real response to the real me. And it takes a bit of courage and it takes a bit of confidence, but I really hope I can like get this into your mind. You may as well have the life where you are ruthlessly, authentically yourself. And then you just have people's real responses to you, because you'll see who really actually likes you. Not their idea of you, not their expectations of you, but you as how you are. That it's like a skill to build up. And so when you're saying no, you're actually saying yes to the real you. When there's a time when you want to say no, but you don't say it, you're presenting a fake version of yourself because you're hoping to be more liked. And often with that kind of like intention, you're often a little bit uglier, right? If you're like really needy for people's acceptance to the point that you aren't showing your real self, in a weird way, you come across as less attractive, right? Because you're a little bit more needy. So do you see how everything that we've covered today, in a weird way, makes you more attractive, but to the right people? And often, unfortunately, there's less people who are like that. So if you've got someone in front of you right now, a girl, a friend, whatever, a family member, there's quite a high chance that you and them are not compatible with each other if you showed your real self. You can choose to show a fake version of you just to try and maintain some fake relationship. But then it's like that relationship's not even going to make you feel good. It's not going to develop you. You're going to start acting in like weird, inauthentic ways. You're going to start to pretend to be more like this other person. You're going to like not have much respect for yourself when you find yourself speaking in a different way just to fit in with this person. You're going to find that you've spent so much time wasted just to be around this person. You're going to look back to those moments and not have respect for yourself. Or you could have less friends, less family members, less women through your life, but it's the ones who genuinely are compatible with you. That's the authenticity. That's like the beautiful thing. That's what I really want for you. When you are going to say no to people, the arguments will come up. Arguments and conflict will come up. But what I would ask you is like, were there going to be zero arguments if you did what they say? Let's say your parents say you've got to go to university and you basically are not going to, like, that's, part of your values. Arguments will come up. Your parents will shout at you and make you go to university. So if you go because your daddy's making you go, would you and him never argue again for life? No, of course not, right? The kind of parents who would force you to go and do something, like, for example, going to university. I'm just using this example because I get it as a question all the time. If you listen to your parents and you go to university, would you never argue again? No, of course not. You'd still have arguments, because the kind of parents who would force you to go to university are also the kind of parents who will just fucking create arguments for whatever fucking comes up anyway. So it's like in one scenario, you're not following your dream. You're basically cultivating the biggest, most common regret of dying people, which is living a life on other people's expectations. And also you're still having arguments and conflict with your parents because that's the kind of people they are anyway. Or on the other scenario, you're still having those arguments and conflicts, but you're following your dream as well. So the arguments and conflict will always stay consistent with these types of people who just are like argumentative. But in one sense, you are authentic to your own goals and you're avoiding the most common regret of dying people. If arguments are going to continue, you may as well have them for following your own life. So what have we learned today? That there's basically no downside to saying things that you know are not essential, but there's a massive upside. So look forward to the next opportunity to say no. Be a guy who loves saying the N-word. There's 3 steps to start saying no: the importance of no, how to say no politely, how to deal with the repercussions of no, and we've covered everything that I promised to you. The promise was that I'll teach you how to say no, even to, like an authority figure, to do some stuff that you don't want to do. And I've taught you everything I basically know. One last time, if you haven't already, the top link in the description is my free email news list. You can go and get a bunch of emails written by me. And this isn't the entire email, by the way. It's like over 1,000 words. So if you like reading and you don't just want to read like the same book over and over again, but you want to read like stuff that I've personally written, like in detail, guides and everything, almost like an article, go to the top link in the description right now and do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it. Mwah.